We be live. Hello, everyone. Let me get you guys on my phone so I could also monitor the super chat. Guys, make sure you like the stream right now so that this video gets seen. The stream gets seen by a lot more people. People in the live chat, please confirm that you are liking the stream so I can see that my audio is coming through, and also that you guys are helping out, and also so that other people can see that you are liking the stream. So that, oh wow, we got a new member. Thank you so much from Woolzem. Woolzem became a new member. Thank you so much. All right, so today we are going to be responding to some anti-Israeli nonsense that are passing online as intellectuals for some reason. What's good? What's good? Yeah, keep people in the live chat saying good morning. Sita saying like. Thank you so much. Benny saying hello, like the stream. Fantastic. Kenny is here. Michael is here. Let me see who else is here. Uzair is here. All right, fantastic. Guys, I really do need you guys to like the stream and leave comments and do all of that stuff. Natasha is here saying good afternoon, everyone. Natasha. No, I'm reading it wrong. Nastasia. Sorry, Nastasia. Yeah. Cool. All right, let's get started. And also, let's keep an eye on the monetization just to see at what point YouTube will demonetize the stream. So far, we seem to be okay. So far, it's fine. It's green. It's nice. Okay, good. Green is good. Green is good. But let's start with this guy, Mehdi Hasan, and see what he has to say and respond to it. Well, people are saying good audio. Guys, thank you so much for confirming that. People saying shalom. Yes, greetings from Finland. Fantastic. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's watch this video through and through by Mehdi Hasan. This is him on the Piers Morgan show, on the Uncensored show by Piers Morgan. And let's see what this has to, what he has to say, and then respond to it. Okay, let's get started.
I would be fine, Piers, if you had Palestinian guests and you begin by asking them, do you condemn Hamas war crimes? Because what Hamas did on October 7th was a war crime. But then you should start with Israeli guests and pro-Israeli guests saying, do you condemn Israeli war crimes, which have been documented by the UN, every human rights group on the planet? You don't. You had Naftali Bennett, the former Israeli Prime Minister, on a couple of weeks ago. I watched the interview. Your opening question was, how comfortable are you with the way Israel's prosecuting the war? Right. Bit of a softball to start with. You didn't ask him to condemn Israeli terrorism, Israeli war crimes, Israeli genocide in Gaza. So a lot of people look at that and they say, they get your intention, but it comes across as a bit of a racist double standard.
Well, look, I don't think it's a racist double standard, and I think that nobody has given pro-Palestinian voices a bigger platform more consistently since October the 7th than me. And if you go back and look at those interviews, you know, I think that clips get taken out of context and people assume they know what I've said. And often it's completely misleading. I've tried to be fair-minded about it. People do ask me, do you think Israel are terrorists? And I've said no. I don't think they are, but I have repeated.
Why?
Well, I have repeated because I think they
out of interest. Why?
Because they were responding to an act of terrorism so heinous it demanded a massive military response. The question for me that's caused me a moral quandary is what is an acceptably proportionate level of response, and I don't know the answer. But I don't think you can call people responding to an act of terror on that scale terrorists for responding.
Okay. So this is a common question people ask. It's a test. It's called the Hamas test, right? Like the Hamas check, right? So in Iran, we have this test called the Qasem check to see if people, to figure out where people stand. We ask them if they supported or support Qasem Soleimani or not, just so we understand their allegiances and where they stand. It's called the Qasem check. This is the Hamas check. Do you condemn Hamas, yes or no? It's an easy question, and it's easy to answer. It's very straightforward. Anybody who can't answer that with a straightforward, like, yes, you know, I also appreciate people who just say no, because now we know where they stand. It's the people who keep dancing around it that are the most annoying, right? One of these ways of dancing around this question is asking, why don't you condemn the other side? Why don't you call out the other side as terrorists? So there's two questions. Is the other side, is Hamas, would you consider Hamas to be terrorist? And would you condemn when you condemn Hamas? Would you condemn the things that they do? These sound like the same question, but they're not. They're two different questions, right? And they're both easy questions to answer. And what people usually do in order to avoid answering this question is a classic whataboutism. Do you condemn Israel? Do you consider Israel to be doing terrorism? And okay, so Israel cannot be doing terrorism. Even if they were evil, they cannot be doing terrorism. This is people's lack of understanding of what terrorism means. I mean, they're not terrorists. Not that they're not doing. They cannot be considered terrorists because they're a state. All right. So a lot of people, again, I support Israel. I don't consider what Israel is doing is even remotely close to terrorism. I don't think most of what they're doing is even condemnable. I support most of what they're doing. I don't support everything that Israel does, but I support most of what Israel does. But even in a parallel universe where most of what Israel was doing was evil, they will still not be terrorists because they're a state. And again, I apply the standard even to the Islamic Republic of Iran. That's why they call them a state sponsor of terror, not a terrorist state. By definition of terrorist, you cannot be terrorist once you are a nation state. A nation state, not just a state, okay? Because it's questionable whether if you are just a state, but not an official government of a nation state, because Hamas is technically a state, but they're not the official government of a country out there, right? So Hamas could still be a terrorist group based on definitions. But when you even if you consider, I can understand why somebody might say that any state cannot be considered a terrorist group. And by that definition, they would say that Hamas is not a terrorist group. But if somebody says that, that is not a defense of Hamas. That is just like trying to abide by definitions, right? So even though I do defend Israel, when you say Israel is not a terrorist, that part is not even a defense of Israel. That's just like abiding by definitions. So that whole them being terrorists or not terrorists, like that's a linguistic, semantic argument that is not even getting to the point of whether what they're doing is right or wrong. That's just like how we use language. And a lot of people who don't understand how these definitions are used get into a language game rather than trying to actually understanding whether something that is happening is right or wrong. So that's why the terrorist language, I don't think it doesn't really help, because people think that when you're saying this group is a terrorist or is not a terrorist, you're defending them or you're taking a position against them, right? Some of the most evil acts in the world are not terrorism, right? There are many things that are absolutely evil. Some of the most greatest human rights violation, but they're technically not terrorism, right? So let's put the terrorism question aside. Now let's look at whether we can condemn it or not, right? Whether we can condemn what Israel is doing or not. So here's the problem. It's obvious that Israel, like any other nation state on the planet, has done things and is doing things that can be condemned. You know how I know that? Because of how many actions are being taken. It's just the law of large numbers. Obviously, they're doing some things that we should be condemning, because that's what there's just so many things happening. Every country, especially if a country is taking part in a war, at some point somebody is going to do something that is a crime that should be condemned. Okay, but here's the problem: we don't know which ones, right? Because most of what they're doing is okay, and also should be doing. Most of what they're doing, if they weren't doing it, we should have been condemning that. Like, why aren't you doing this? Why are you not supporting and defending your citizens and defending the integrity of your border and the survival of your nation state? So most of what they're doing should be supported and actually should be demanded. But obviously there's going to be many things there that could be condemned, but because unlike some people, they don't go and systematically take pride in their human rights violations and advertise their human rights violations and brag about their human rights violations, it takes a lot more effort and investigation to figure out which one of the actions that Israel has taken can be condemned. And here's another thing we are not going to do. Once the investigations are done, once we do have evidence of certain examples of violations of any laws, whether Israel's laws or international laws, many of them Israel will condemn itself because it's basically violates Israel's own standards of engagement. In fact, that's the great thing about Israel. Most of the things that would be considered human rights violations are actually violations of Israel's own rules of engagement. So Israel will condemn them itself. So, but once we figure out which one of those actions should be condemned, we're not going to generalize that to the entirety of Israel. We're going to be like, yeah, that specific action over there. But we are going to, when it comes to Hamas, we are going to generalize that. We feel comfortable generalizing that to the entirety of Hamas because it's in their charter, because it's what they advertise that they want to do, because it's systematic, because they're proud of it, because they record it and advertise it, because they promise it, because they promise a lot more of it, not just what we're saying. So when you see a Hamas fighter doing terrorism or doing something that we condemn, this is not a bad apple. This is not one example of one of their fighters doing something that the rest of Hamas condemns. This is a deliberate from the top down the entirety of Hamas. So we could condemn the entirety of Hamas in a way that we cannot do with Israel. That's the difference. Know the difference, right? But here's the thing. Let's say that we are wrong. We are looking at this, and in the same way that you could condemn Hamas, you could condemn Israel in the same way. Like, okay, they are doing evil acts and they're doing terrorism or things that we should condemn. And we could do the same thing for Israel, maybe even more. Like, let's say I'm wrong, you guys in the live chat are wrong, and we should do that with Israel as well. And we just came to the wrong conclusion. How is that racism, like Mehdi Hasan is saying? Where is he getting that from? Why can't it just be maybe that we're wrong? Where did you get the conclusion? Why is it so easy for you guys just to go and say, oh, racism? Maybe we're just wrong. How is that? Where is that accusation is coming from? Like Piers Morgan, even if Piers Morgan is wrong here with his conclusions, because Piers Morgan's conclusions regarding maybe not about many things, but regarding Israel and Palestine, I think Piers Morgan is doing a really good job trying to evaluate everything, trying to do his best to come up with the right conclusion. Even if he comes to the wrong conclusion, based on what I've seen from him, it seems like it, at least, that he's genuinely trying his best to come up with the best conclusion. So where do you get this accusation of racism from? I don't understand. How do you throw it? Like, if you notice, Mehdi Hasan at the beginning, he attributes his conclusion by Piers Morgan, he attributes it to his racism. But at the end, he also accepts, like, yes, you are one of the few medias out there that has invited the highest number of pro-Palestinian, guests. And he accepts that. He shakes like, yes, you have. Yes, you have. Well, if he has, are you going to take back your racism accusation at the beginning? Are you going to accept it, or are you just going to stay with it? So coming back to the first, how this all started, people dancing around, like, even, there are some people that accuse, like, they will condemn Hamas. They will just get that out of the way, but they do that for a second before they come and do a whataboutism. So we either have two groups of people who refuse to condemn Hamas, or they condemn. So actually there's three groups. People who will not condemn Hamas, they will dance around it and say, I'll try to change the subject. People who will act like they already have condemned Hamas, without actually saying those words. Like they say, what you want to hear, I have already said it in my own way. But for some reason, I'm allergic to actually saying the sentence, I condemn Hamas, or I consider what they do to be terrorism. I can't say it, but I act like I've already said it. And then there's a third group of people who will, like, anti-Israeli. I'm talking about categorizing anti-Israeli people. Then the third group of people who would just come out and say, yes, I condemn Hamas, but what about Israel? But what about Israel? But what about Israel? Okay, what about Israel? What about Israel? When it comes to condemning certain actions by Israel, I will answer you. If you say, do you condemn Israel? I'm like, which acts? If you say, do you condemn Hamas? My answer would be yes, all of it. When you say, do you condemn Israel? The entirety of it? No. Which specific acts? That's my answer. It's more complicated. When it comes to Israel, it's more complicated. Israel doesn't have a charter committed to doing violent acts of terror. Israel doesn't have a systematic top-down goal in destroying and eliminating civilians. So even if there are examples of violations, I have to see it. It's more complicated. It needs to be investigated. I'm sure that we will be able to find some of it, but it requires a lot more data and a lot more evidence. They're not a whole bunch of group of people that go around and brag about killing civilians, from the top down, the entirety of the system. I'm sure Israel has, just like any other country has, fascists, has evil people, have people who would just love killing civilians on the other side. I'm sure every country has those people. All right. But unlike Hamas, it's not the DNA of the entire country. I see a lot of super chats. I will get to them. But now that we answered all of this, let's look at this line by line and see if we have addressed everything.
I would be fine, Piers, if you had...
Oh, by the way, guys, now that more people are here, make sure you like the stream. We need you guys to like the stream so that more people end up seeing the stream. So please go ahead and do it right now. I see a lot of people are watching us on Twitter. So if you're watching us on anywhere else, please make sure that you come to Atheist Republic on YouTube and subscribe to Atheist Republic on YouTube and watch us there so that you could be part of the live chat. Okay, so Dolly is not here today, but she will be here probably in a couple of days. Let's see what Mehdi Hasan has to say.
I would be fine, Piers, if you had Palestinian guests and you begin by asking them, do you condemn Hamas war crimes? Because what Hamas did on October 7th was a war crime. But then you should start with Israeli guests and pro-Israeli guests saying, do you condemn Israeli war crimes, which have been documented by the UN?
No, which Israeli war crimes have been documented?
Do you condemn Israeli war crimes, which have been documented by the UN, every human rights group on the planet? You don't.
Okay, not every human rights. We have human rights groups that disagree with your characterization of this being. This has not been proven that these are human rights violations. This is a claim. The documentation of it is not by itself a proof. This is a claim that these are human rights violations. And again, I'm sure there will be a few that are human rights violations, but I cannot condemn any of them until it's investigated. Just because you have civilians, here's the thing, because people say, like, how could this not be a human rights violation? Civilians have died. This is what your response should be. Civilians die in every war. Based on your standards of what's a human rights violation, then every single war would be a human rights violation. And if every single war is a human rights violation, every country defending itself would be a human rights violation. So no country on this planet would be able to defend itself without actually committing human rights violations. Do you understand how idiotic that standard is? Do you understand how crazy, how stupid that standard is, that you consider every defense of your country to be a human rights violation? Not only this, the average, if you actually go look at the modern warfare, when it comes to modern wars, the average of the ratio between civilians to combatant ratio, like the number that is, like, if you divide the number of civilians to the number of combatants, the ratio that you will get in every single modern war that we have had, you had more, that number is more than one. Basically, you had more civilians dying than combatants, like the average. Actually, I don't know if it's every single one of them. So if you want to say that, okay, this is a human rights violation because more civilians are dying than combatants, well, that's true regarding most wars. That's actually the average. I think the average, I'm not going to mention what the average is because every time I research this, I get different numbers, but it's over. Every single one of the result of every time I've done the research, the result has been more than one. So civilians to combatant has always, in every time I've looked into this, has been more than one. So you cannot categorize all of these wars as human rights violations. Like if this is a human rights violation, then when the Allies went and fought Nazi Germany to free Europe from Nazis, like when the United States went and helped its British and French allies to save them from Nazi Germany, more civilians died than combatants. Would that be a human rights violation? It's just a stupid standard. It doesn't make any sense.
When you had Naftali Bennett, the former Israeli Prime Minister, on a couple of weeks ago, I watched the interview. Your opening question was, how comfortable are you with the way Israel's prosecuting the war? Right. Bit of a softball to start with. You didn't know.
No, that's not a softball. That's the right question. So when it comes to Hamas, the entirety of the Hamas, would you consider them to be terrorists? Do you condemn Hamas? Because it's just one thing. It's just one thing. When it comes to Israel, you have to ask a more general question. It's a stupid question to say, do you condemn Israel? Israel is not one thing. If you ask the question, the same question that you ask about Hamas, about Israel, you're stupid, you're idiotic, like you don't understand you're not a good host of a show, because Israel is a lot more complicated. There are a lot more diverse. It's not like you don't have this unanimous view in Israel. So if somebody asks you, do you condemn Israel, you have to look at them like they're stupid. Like who, which part of Israel, what policy, what individual, what statement? It's Hamas. It's not like Hamas that it's all the same thing, right? So you have to look at them like funny. You have to look at them like they're like they ask a stupid question, and you have to even look at them like they're even more stupid if they ask you if Israel is terrorist, as a terrorist. Like you're asking me if a nation state is a terrorist. Like, what are you talking about? Are you okay? Like, that's how you should look at them.
Ask him to condemn Israeli terrorism, Israeli war crimes, Israeli genocide in Gaza. So a lot of people look
Israeli genocide. Yeah, you ask me that question. Do you condemn Israel's genocide in Gaza? Like, if they were committing genocide in Gaza, yes, I would condemn it. But I'm glad that they're not. That's the answer.
Get that, and they say they get your intention, but it comes across as a bit of a racist double standard.
What?
Racist double standard. Basically, not only do you not like the results, you're also attributing some intention to the double standard that you have no idea, that you have no like. This is so that I thought that this is so 2009. Like, are we still there? That when you call everything that you don't like, you call racist? Unbelievable.
Look, I don't think it's a racist double standard, and I think that nobody has given pro-Palestinian voices a bigger platform more consistently since October the 7th than me. And if you go back,
all right, you have. So how could he be racist if he has? Like, are you gonna apologize for calling the man racist? Anyways, I'm done with this guy. Let me look at the super chat. But before we go to the super chat, let me see actually who's next. So this is going to be the next video, but before we go, let's read the super chats. And before we read the super chats, let's look at this question. This is so bizarre because people keep saying that to me. I don't know if I should keep responding to this because you guys are not very smart. Night Screech is saying, so weird that you are a Zionist. I don't understand. Yeah, a lot of people keep messaging me on Twitter, on Instagram. Like, how could an atheist be a Zionist? This is because of people's misunderstanding of what Zionism means, right? Zionism, from its very origin, was a secular movement. Just because some religious nutjobs just jumped on that bandwagon, that doesn't make Zionism religious, you idiots, okay? So Zionism is just, I went to Israel and I've talked to many, many Zionists, and they all have different definitions of Zionism. but there was one part of it. Do you guys know how definitions work? If you have a word that is being used differently by many different people, the part that they share will become the definition. That becomes the working definition. So what is, I talked to so many people about what Zionism means to them, and many definitions, there were many things that were different about their understanding of what Zionism is, but the only part that they all shared was the idea that Israel has the right to be a country. That was the part that they all shared. So based on how definitions work, that the shared part will become the definition. So Zionism is just the belief that Israel has the right to be a country. So if you believe that Israel has the right to be a country, based on this definition, you would be a Zionist. That's why I call myself a Zionist. Easy peasy. All right, let's look at the super chats. Sid Dave, thank you so much for the $5 Canadian super chat, saying this guy Hassan is a charlatan. I have seen videos of his old speeches comparing unbelievers to animals. Wow, can you send me that? He is an Islamist fraud. Okay, so I would be, I mean, I don't know if he still holds those views. Maybe he had those views before and now he doesn't have them anymore. But I would like to see that video because I don't want to hold people responsible for things that they have said many years ago, because we all change our opinions on things. All right, so we have another super chat here by Sid, $5 Canadian, saying Islamists are the greatest defenders of what? Islamists are the greatest defenders of democracy, human rights, multiculturalism, secularism when they are in a minority. Oh, I see. This is, said Dave, this is the Meccan phase, right? Once they have their higher number, they have the Medina phase. S Hope with the $20 super chat. Well, thank you. That's very generous. Saying, I like the stream, dudes. Yes, please, dudes, everybody, please like the stream. Thank you so much from S Hope. I appreciate the support. Let me actually see if we're still monetized. Wow, we're still green. We're still monetized. YouTube is being nice to us these days. Thank you. And also we got Darko using 25 months of membership. Darko is celebrating his membership by saying, I condemn war crimes and terrorism. Okay. Yes, that's actually, people say, like, if somebody asks you, do you condemn Israeli war crimes? Like, yeah, the ones that you could prove are war crimes. I mean, that's the definition of a war crime. It's something that is been condemned. So do you condemn Israeli war crimes? Well, I condemn all war crimes. Once you've shown me that there has a war crime, once you can prove with evidence that a war crime has been taking place, by default, you could consider me as anti-war crime everywhere that has been proven that there has a war crime has been taking place. Okay, by default I condemn them. Okay, I will write you a blank check for condemning of all war crimes everywhere. Jack Johnson with the €10 super chat, saying, thanks for these streams. From the river to the sea, Hamas will cease to be. Oh, that's nice. From the river to the sea, Hamas will cease to be. Okay, yeah, guys, write that on your sides and go protest. Fantastic. I love that. I don't know if that's going to happen though, but I hope so. One day, maybe not in the short. I don't think Hamas will cease to be for a while, but at some point, one day, it will happen. One day, yes. Question: when is it best to recognize Palestine by the USA, the European Union, and United Nations as part of a deal with Israel, or unilaterally? Well, after you defeat Hamas, again, Hamas cannot be completely destroyed because it's an ideology. But once you are defeated Hamas in a way that they have no control over Gaza, I think right now doesn't make sense. Here's the thing: I want Palestine at some point to be a country, but at some point it's a distant future. Right now, we cannot. Right now, it's too early. Right now, it's such a you basically might be creating another Islamic Republic of Iran, right next to Israel, if you make Palestine a nation state now. So this has to be a long project, right? So I also understand that a lot of Israelis are not comfortable with Palestine becoming a country right now, and I can see why. But the long goal should be to remove any terrorist groups from turning into a state in Gaza. And also you need to have a much more agreeable state also in the West Bank. And so phase 1, order, right? Phase 2, investment in such a way, like I don't know if I have much of a hope for this generation and also the children in Gaza, because the brainwashing and radicalization has been so strong that I'm thinking the generation of Palestinians that haven't even been born yet, those are your target. You need to invest in infrastructure and education and water and everything basically that you need for a decent life, for a comfortable, secure, and decent life in Palestine. After you get order and stability in Gaza and West Bank, then you need investment to the point. This is still without Palestine being a nation state. You need Israel and Saudi Arabia and some other countries to come together. The main 3 countries that need to come together is Saudi Arabia, Israel, and United States, to heavily invest in Gaza and West Bank and increase economic activity and increase trade in and out of Gaza and West Bank, but not now. Like once you have a lot of order, like once you completely manage this area without Hamas managing that area. And then not this generation, the generation that has not been born yet, once you have the education system under control, and once you give them a life that they could look forward to, once they could have hope for a future in peace and prosperity, once you could bring their focus and attention to this life and making this life better rather than the next one that doesn't exist, right? Once you could give them, again, Muslims are Muslim, but there are different degrees of indoctrination and focus on death rather than life. There are different degrees. Even if people remain Muslim, you could make them focus on this life more. You could give them hope. You could give them something to look forward to. And once you have a new generation of Palestinians who are not radicalized and not indoctrinated and want better lives and are looking forward to the future, at that point, and a generation of Palestinians that if they're given the chance to elect, they will elect officials that would want peace with Israel and recognizes Israel and wants peace with Israel. That's the point that we could have Palestine as a nation state. That's when we will have it, but not now. Not now. Again, I want a 2-state solution, but in a long, distant future, not right now. So there's that. People are agreeing with me in the live chat. Thank you, guys. People are saying, yeah, okay. Angie, thank you so much for the $2 super chat, saying double standard. Thank you as always, standing for truth. Well, thank you for the super chat. And then we have Benny Wolf saying, thanks for analyzing these claims, Armin. Well, thank you for supporting. Thank you for being a member. And then we have 2 more. Master of Darkness saying, there is a good article by a Gazan named Hamza Howdy. I don't know how to pronounce that. A message from a Gazan to campus protesters. You're hurting the Palestinian cause. I recommend. Wow. I might actually look into this. Well, okay. Let me. Message from a Gazan to campus. Okay. Protesters. That is, guys, maybe go look into this. Okay, yes, it's on Newsweek. Okay, I might. This sounds like a really good read. It's not behind the paywall, guys. It's not behind the paywall. That's great. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat, and also for this fantastic suggestion. I might even turn it into a stream. I don't know. Sid with the $5 Canadian super chat saying, "I support a Palestinian state, but unfortunate reality is that it will be no different from a jihadist Taliban like state with minorities, where minorities will have no right." Okay, again, this is why I say I support a Palestinian state in a distant future. There are two steps in the middle that you have to take. Order, you have to bring order first. Second, heavy investment and increasing economic activity, and then a new generation, and also taking control over the education system. And then once you have a new generation of Palestinians that have not been born in such an environment where they are brainwashed, and also that the situation are not so dire that they radicalize, at that point I want a Palestinian nation state. So yeah, if you follow these steps that I'm telling you, then that will not happen, what you're saying, right? But yes. Also, we got a new so we got Atheist Gamer with who's a member for 2 months, saying secularism leads to import of Islamism. Solution. Oh, secularism leads to import of Islamism. Well, actually, if you think secularism leads to import of Islamism, try not being secular, because that also leads to import of Islamism at a faster rate. So yeah, secularism, as bad as democracy and secularism could be sometimes, they're the best we have, right? There's no better option. Anyways, but I don't want to change the topic. So by the way, when I said as bad, I was kidding. These are every system that you choose, every methodology that you choose will have its flaws. If having flaws is your problem, then you cannot choose any options. The point is to choose the best options among the options that we have. Anyways, we need to do another video, so let's do this one. So this is again on Dr. West on Piers Morgan is now yelling, apparently. Let's see what he says.
All you want to talk about is protection of Jews.
It's not all I want to talk about, Cornel. But that is actually what this debate is about.
Organizations that are.
All right, so let me give you some context here. The debate here is about whether the students in American universities who are protesting against Israel, whether what they're doing is justified or not, because a lot of them are harassing students, especially Jewish students. They're violating the rules of the universities. They're breaking windows. They're spitting on Jews. They have some chants that are pro-terrorism, pro-Hamas, some very anti-Semitic chants you could see among a lot of these protesters. And again, a lot of people keep saying, well, I haven't seen that, or I've seen people who are protesting peacefully, or I've seen Jewish students also protesting against Israel, as if seeing those things means that those other things are not happening. Do you see how stupid some people are? You see how the logic works? Well, I've seen some peaceful students are like, okay, we didn't say that there are no students who are protesting peacefully. Okay, we're saying that there are these other people some of them are not even students in the university. They came from other places, who are not so peaceful, who are intimidating Jewish students, who are violating the campus's rules and all that, and that exists. You saying this other thing exists doesn't mean the other thing doesn't exist. You dumb idiot. You know, this is so. I don't even know why we need to explain these things to people. Like, hey, I see a cat. There's a cat in your house. And you're like, well, I went into the house and I saw a dog. So therefore, there's no cat in the house because I saw a dog in the house. Like, do you realize that you could have a cat and a dog in a house that could both be true at the same time? This is called a false dichotomy, right? Anyways, so Piers Morgan is questioning these people and is trying to make them ask them if they condemn those specific acts. And these people, they don't want, again, this is the same strategy as you saw in the previous video. They don't want to be in a position where they have to answer this question. So what do you do when you're being cornered and you have to answer a question that if you say yes to or no to, you look bad either way? Because if you say, no, I don't condemn it, then you are supporting anti-Semitism. You're supporting destruction of property and violations of rules. So if you say, no, I don't condemn it, then that's a problem for you. But if you also say, yes, I do condemn it, then that's also a problem for you, because you're a leftist idiot with a lot of other leftist supporters who would be on your ass telling you, what the hell? Why would you be condemning this? You shouldn't be condemning this. So you're in a difficult position. So what you do whataboutism. You be like, what about IDF? What about, like, why are you shifting the conversation from what's happening in Gaza to university campuses? This is a whataboutism technique. That's what Mr. West is doing here. But here's the problem for you. That was the whole topic of this conversation. That's why you were invited to speak. This was the topic. You're like, what about in Gaza? Like, what about Gaza? This is the topic of this conversation, is the university protest. So he's trying to run away, and Piers Morgan is trying to stop him from running away. So look at this. Now that you have the context, let's listen to this from the beginning to end. Without pausing.
All you want to talk about is protection of Jews.
That's not all I want to talk about, Cornel. But that is actually what this debate is about.
Organizations that are banded back in October. Did you say a word about that? When you got massive children at universities and hospitals completely leveled, and you have something on your Twitter, rather than make that part of the framing of the issue, then in fact you become an extension of propaganda. And that's why I call you a racist, because it means then that a Palestinian,
how dare you? Honestly, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but how dare you? I'm sorry, Dr. West.
You would not frame it in that way.
I'm sorry, but you how dare you call me a racist? What you don't know is, before I did this debate, I did a long interview with one of the IDF spokesmen in which I went after him about their planned invasion of Rafah, because I think it would be a catastrophic mistake. So don't call me a racist. And don't assume don't assume
Biden believes the Palestinian life has the same value as Israeli life.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely not.
Yes, I do.
Fiber in his bones when it comes to Palestinian predicament.
I absolutely believe
that's an answer to me?
I believe Palestinian lives matter just as much as any other lives, and I've always said that.
Again, with the accusation of racism, what is it with leftists and just throwing out this accusation around? You don't like what I have to say, then I must be a racist. What is it with these people? They always think, they consider themselves so virtuous. They think that they are on the side of equality and defending human rights, that anybody who disagrees with them must be evil racists, and they're the defenders of equality and equal rights and all the other good things. Because obviously, if you don't come to the same conclusion as I have, you must be pure evil that stands against everything wholesome and good and pure, and you must be a racist. What is this? How are these people broken? I think that what is wrong with you guys? Where did you get the accusation of racism? And he says all you want to talk about is this university protest. He literally was talking about something else. He was talking about Gaza right before this debate that he had with you. Right before it, the topic of this panel that you moron, you idiot, is the campus protest. Obviously, they're going to focus on the campus protest because that's the topic on this new panel. That's what you were told before you were invited on this panel. I don't understand these people. How could you be this stupid and yet so influential? It all must be because there are just so many idiots in this world. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say. Let me actually play what he has to say. Oh my.
All you want to talk about is protection of Jews.
It's not all I want to talk about, Cornel. But that is actually what this debate is about.
Organizations that are banded back in October. Did you say a word about?
Get a better microphone. Guys, is my microphone okay? This guy is such a celebrity among all these idiot leftists, and he doesn't even invest in a proper mic so that we could hear what he has to say. I don't even know what he's saying sometimes.
Organizations that are banded back in October. Did you say a word about that? When you got massive children at universities and hospitals completely leveled, and you have something on your Twitter rather than make that part of the framing of the issue, then in fact you
he talked about all of those. What are you talking about?
An extension of propaganda, and that's why I call you a racist, because it means.
In fact, Piers Morgan has been looking at all the arguments from all sides and taking the position. He has been criticizing Israel. He has been criticizing IDF. He has been doing all of that. It's you who are one-sided on this. Piers Morgan has been one of the most reasonable shows on this. Like, his show has been one of the best because he actually looks at all the arguments that are being made from all the sides. I don't know what you're talking about. You're so one-sided that you cannot even comprehend when somebody is trying not to be.
Means then that a Palestinian,
how dare you? Honestly,
look at this. Like, look at the racist accusation. How do you even know why? How could you even tell if somebody is actually being racist without them telling you that they're being racist? Why can't you assume? Here's, for example, I know a lot of anti-Israeli people are anti-Jewish racists. You know how I know that? Because they say so, because they claim it, because they're pretty open and transparent about their anti-Jewish agenda. That's one of the few ways that you could be confident about someone's racism. I just don't know. Other than that, how could you be so confident about just calling somebody racist? Like, maybe they're just wrong. Even if you're right and they're wrong, how could you know their motivations behind what they're saying?
Of the issue, then in fact you become an extension of propaganda, and that's why I call you a racist, because it means then that a Palestinian.
How dare you? Honestly, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad that Piers Morgan is just like standing up and saying like, "How dare you?" Like, that's pretty. Like, stand up for yourself. Like, don't let these idiots just call you that and get away with it. Like, that is unbelievable. And also, when he points out, look at this, what he does. Once he points out that I actually have been discussing these things that you say that I haven't been discussing, then he doesn't take it back. He doesn't come like, okay, well, I take that back. He just goes and jumps on a different topic. And he's like, you don't care about Palestinian lives. You don't see them as equal. Like, that is a very vile, disgusting accusation. And, a lot of people on the left are just so careless. Like, they just so easily consider everybody who disagrees with them. They just attribute malice. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Sorry, but how dare you?
I'm sorry, Dr. West.
Like, if you didn't value people's lives, you wouldn't frame it in the way. No, actually, maybe they do care about people's lives, including Palestinian lives, and they're trying to figure out, based on their understanding of the world, how to reduce human misery. Even if that's wrong, even if their methodology is wrong, it doesn't mean that they don't care about human life. But that is their honest way, their honest solution to try to reduce human misery, Palestinian misery and Israeli misery.
You would not frame it in that way.
I'm sorry, but how dare you call me a racist? What you don't know is, before I did this debate, I did a long interview with one of the IDF spokesmen in which I went after him about their planned invasion of Rafah, because I think it would be a catastrophic mistake.
I disagree with Piers Morgan. It would be a catastrophe if you don't go and invade Rafah. Okay, so he has his criticism for IDF. I have seen things that I would criticize for IDF. I have seen, for example, here's easy. Okay, I've seen videos coming from some soldiers in IDF that they were singing that there's no innocent people in Gaza. Right? I've seen that. Condemn, easy peasy. Right? Those specific soldiers at that moment, at that specific time, what they were singing, it shows that these soldiers have some really bad intentions or do not care about Palestinian lives. Those specific soldiers, I do not attribute that to the entirety of Israel. I know there are many people in Israel, many soldiers and many commanders in Israel that know better and do better. But those specific soldiers that were singing that, I condemn that. I've seen some soldiers of IDF stealing stuff from Palestinian homes. I condemn that. I've seen some things, some actions that seems like an IDF soldier did something really bad intentionally, but I'm not sure. I need to see some more data to be able to condemn those, right? But again, there are certain things. Here's the thing. Here's how I categorize it. Certain things that I see from some IDF soldiers that I condemn right away because it's obvious that is something that you can condemn. There are certain things that looks like an intentionality behind something really evil being done by a certain IDF soldier, but it looks like it, and I'm not sure. I need more investigation. And then there are other things that other people are condemning by IDF that I'm supporting. Like, no, I don't condemn that. I think IDF should be doing that. For example, the invasion of Rafah. Will there be a lot of civilian casualty when it comes to invading Rafah? Yes, there will be. Then why would I support something that would have such high civilian casualties? Because I believe not invading it, not going and finishing the job, will have more civilian casualties. So yes, civilian casualties are bad, okay, but when it comes to this amount of, like, X amount of civilian casualties and Y amount of civilian casualties, if Y is greater than X, then I will go with X civilian casualties rather than Y civilian casualties. And the reason why not attacking Rafah and finishing the job will result in more civilian casualties is because if you have had such a high cost for this war and do not finish it in a way so that Gaza cannot maintain control over Gaza again. So basically, if you finish this war in a way that Hamas will be able to come back in power, then it would have been all for naught. And basically, at some point, you will have to come and do this all over again. If you do not finish the job, we will have another October 7th. And if we have another October 7th, we're going to have another 10, 20, 30,000 civilian casualties also in Palestine. So for the sake of the Palestinians themselves, please let Israel finish the job in Rafah and make sure that Hamas cannot gain control over Gaza ever again. That's why I support the invasion of Rafah. Easy peasy, right? So let's continue with this.
So don't call me a
Biden
racist.
believes that
And don't
too.
assume
Biden
you
believes that
don't
too.
assume
You think Biden believes that Palestinian life has the same value as Israeli?
Is he saying Biden? His audio quality is really low. Is this Biden believes that? Biden believes that? Is he saying Biden or I'm mishearing this? Because if he's saying Biden, I don't know why he's jumping from one conversation. Is he saying Biden? I don't know what he's saying.
Biden believes that Palestinian life has the same value as Israeli
Yes,
life?
I do.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Is he saying Piers Morgan or Biden? Who? I think Piers Morgan is mishearing him as well. Yeah, okay. So his mic quality is so bad that Piers Morgan is thinking that he's saying, do you think, like, he's talking about, so he called Piers Morgan a racist. People are saying, yes, Biden. He's calling Piers Morgan a racist. Piers Morgan, because he's not talking about some other topics, Piers Morgan showed him that he has been talking about other topics. And instead of apologizing, say, okay, sorry, I shouldn't have called you a racist, and I shouldn't have assumed that you haven't talked about other topics. He's now talking about Biden for some goddamn reason. Like, you see how they jump around and just change the conversation instead of admitting that they made a mistake? And Piers Morgan is not even hearing the Biden part.
Life has the same value as Israeli life?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely not.
Yes, I do.
Fiber in his bone when it comes to Palestinian predicament.
I absolutely believe
think that's an answer to me?
I believe Palestinian lives matter just as much as any other lives, and I've always said that.
Yeah, and you should have apologized and you didn't. Anyways, let's go to this next video. But before we go to the next video, let's look at some of the super chats. And also, before I look at the super chats, let me see if we're still monetized, because these days YouTube is blessing. Guys, why is YouTube so? I think YouTube is like treating us differently every time. This is a conspiracy theory, but ever since we hit 50,000 subscribers, YouTube is treating us differently. We're still monetized. Look at this; it's still green. How is this happening? This is new to me. This is so bizarre. Okay, well, this is a pleasant surprise. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you. God, an atheist republic, the only God that we recognize are the YouTube gods, and we worship the algorithm and all that. Okay, so this is the only religion that we follow here on Atheist Republic. All right, so super chat by Terrell. Thank you so much, Terrell. Saying, oh, that guy, I know the CW wants slavery in Ukraine. He is a lunatic. Okay, I don't know if he does. I have to look into that. But thank you for the super chat. And Angie saying, this guy made me wonder what the students pay for. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the topic of the universities, I might want to get into that. I don't have time right now, but I think many people, I think I come up with a structured way of thinking about what position to take regarding universities. Maybe let me know in the comment section if you want me to tell you the structured way that I think about when it comes to freedom of speech, the right to protest, and violation of university rules, or the Civil Rights Act, and all of that. How I organize it in my mind to think about what's okay and what's not okay. I have now a framework to refer to, and if you want me to talk about it, let me know in the comment section after the stream is over, so I could know that there's demand for it. Okay, so we have another super chat from Terrell. Thank you so much, saying the real racist is CW, Cornel West. He openly said on TV that Ukrainian terrorists should be given to Russia, who puts Ukrainians. Did he really say these things? Like, I don't believe. Like, that's such an insane take that I'm having a hard time believing it. He's saying he openly said on TV that Ukrainian terrorists. Oh, Ukrainian territories should be given to Russia. Oh, okay. Who puts Ukrainians in concentration camps? Okay. Yeah, he's taking the Russia side over Ukraine, and he thinks that we should just appease to Russia and just give them their territory. I did not know that he's this insane. That is like some level of insanity that even leftists don't take. Well, thank you. Again, I have to see that. This is hard for me to believe that for anybody to have a position like that. So I have to look that up. That's insane. And thank you so much for making me aware of that. And maybe I will look it up. All right. So let's look at this last video. Oh my God, this video is 5 minutes long. So I didn't know maybe I should take a shorter video, because we're like almost okay. Let's just watch this through and through without pausing much, so that we could have a short response.
Well, I mean, your other guest, I mean, I don't know what kind of a creature he is. He's a kind of low-grade thug, as far as I can see. He's listened to nothing I've said.
Yeah, I know, because I'm Muslim. That's what we call all Muslims.
I'll tell you. No, it's not that at all. It's not that at all. I just think that I think you're just a very low-rent racist. But anyway.
Look at this. Oh my God, Cenk, because I'm a Muslim. First of all, you idiot, you're not a Muslim, okay? You don't even believe, you're an agnostic, so don't. He regrets leaving Islam because he realizes how valuable the Muslim card is. So he's now back being a Muslim, because anytime somebody attacks you, like, oh yeah, you're a bigot because I'm a Muslim. Look at how this is the third time. It was Mehdi Hasan, then Cornel West, and now Cenk is using the racism and bigotry card because, because I'm Muslim. Sure, yeah, sure. He has been celebrating many other people who are Muslims. He has been celebrating their position and agreeing with them. So it cannot be because you're a Muslim, you freaking moron. Unbelievable.
Well, I mean, your other guest, I mean, I don't know what kind of a creature he is. He's a kind of low-grade thug, as far as I can see. He's listened to nothing I've said.
Yeah, I know, because I'm Muslim. That's what we call all Muslims.
I'll tell you. No, it's not that at all. It's not that at all. I just think that I think you're just a very low-rent racist. But anyway, let me just get on to it. You say first of all, you say, I don't care about the death of Palestinian children. Yes, I do care. I care very deeply about it. But I also know that the responsibility for their deaths lies on Hamas, which has misgoverned their society for the last 16 years and now has been leading the country into being in a war with Israel. So yes, it's on Hamas this. As for seeing wars, by the way, I just mentioned about seeing wars because as far as I can see, you're very...
Okay, so I don't know why Douglas Murray. So I agree with him that the responsibility of Palestinian children dying lies mostly with Hamas. I don't know why he considers Cenk to be racist. Okay, again, you have to be very careful with the accusation of racism, because unless somebody says something that shows that they're racist, like directly says a racist thing or just takes pride in their racism, even if they take the most evil positions or the most idiotic positions, you shouldn't try. It's not a good idea to try to attribute, guess their intention, unless it's pretty clear. I don't know what Douglas has seen that is now accusing him of racism. Maybe he has seen something that will make it fair. But again, I don't know how he says that. I'm not saying he's not a racist. I just say I haven't seen anything that would make me so comfortable so easily to guess someone's intentions behind what they are saying.
Very ill-traveled as well as rather ill-lettered and ill-spoken. And I mention that I cover wars and go to wars because I happen to think myself that it's worth seeing things with your own eyes, including things that you don't particularly like, but you report the truth. I don't know if you ever even leave your own bedroom. And I can tell already that you don't, because you've already said something that demonstrates,
Yeah, again, I love Douglas Murray and a lot of the things he says, but don't say things that could be so easily wrong. Like, I can tell that you don't leave your bedroom. I mean, you don't know that. What if he just now says, like, I actually was in Israel just last week. Now you would look like an idiot. So don't say things that you don't have any actually hard evidence for.
Know nothing about this conflict. You have just demonstrated it in the following terms. You said that this is why we need to push for a two-state solution and give legitimacy to the Palestinian Authority. I'll tell you something you don't know.
Oh, yeah, no. Two-state solution I agree with in the long term. Right now, the Palestinian Authority have no legitimacy. So if you're against that, I'm also agree with.
Because I guess you spent no time in the West Bank, have you? I'll tell you something you probably don't know.
I have.
The Palestinian Authority, Fatah, celebrated this.
Well, so here's the thing. I've spent time in the West Bank. I've been to Palestine. But I think this is not a good way to criticize somebody. Because you could have not been to the West Bank and have studied your entire life. You could be more informed. You could have not gone to the West Bank and be more informed relative to somebody that has been to West Bank, given the amount of time that you spent studying it. So this is not a good metric to see who's like, I mean, as somebody who has been to West Bank myself, I would say that's not a good metric. Because imagine how many Americans, for example, are ill-informed about U.S. politics, but they are in the United States. So would you say like, oh, I have been to the United States? Now, do that now make you an authority or about U.S. politics? Like, no, it doesn't. So I don't think that's a fair way to evaluate whether somebody has good takes or not.
7th of October massacres. I'll give you another fact which demonstrates you know nothing about this and clearly haven't ever visited any Palestinians in the West Bank as I have. If there was an election tomorrow in the West Bank, the reason why there isn't one is because if there was an election tomorrow in the West Bank, Hamas would win. So your idea of...
Yeah, so that's true. And you could know that he's right. That's why you cannot support a two-state solution right now. And also, you could figure that out by looking at opinion polls. You don't need to go to West Bank to figure that out. In fact, if you go to West Bank and spend even 2 years there and come back and don't look at any opinion polls, you wouldn't know that. You can't, so visiting West Bank will not give you that information. Looking at opinion polls will give you that information.
A two-state solution, I'm afraid you are so out of date and you really should leave your bedroom, because in this region nobody thinks that there is a two-state solution on the table because there is not a viable negotiating partner. But
yeah, right now he's right, but remember, right now you should not throw away this two-state solution completely, given that there's no viable solutions right now, given that there's no viable negotiating partners on the other side right now. Yes, I agree all of that. That means this is not a good solution at the moment, but I'm hoping for the long distant future. I'm hoping that it could become viable at some point. I'm not saying it will be, but I don't think we should give up that hope.
I just want to make one other main point. You have gone on tonight, throwing accusations out against the Jewish state, against me. It's the sort of thing you do. I know you're a sort of online pugilist and think you can run for office, and good luck with that. But I'd just like to point out that you only...
I mean, you can run for office. You don't have to win. Running for office has its benefits, even if you don't win. So he can, unfortunately, he can win.
Really get animated if the Jews are involved. And I can tell that for the following reason. I mean, your surname's Uyghur, isn't it? 1 million Uyghur Muslims in China have been put in concentration camps in the last decade. And people of your ilk never really care about that, do you? Because it's not the Jews doing it, it's the Chinese Communist Party. At the moment, 1 million
Yeah, this, by the way, Atheist Republic as a channel has, this is something I'm very proud of, right? We, as an atheist channel, as an anti-Islamic atheist channel, have spoken more in defense of Muslims in China than the top English-speaking Islamic channels, the top 5 combined, right? So even back when it wasn't a big topic, like even before UN reports and before it became a bigger topic, we have this channel, like some of its oldest videos, if you go look at it, like some of its earliest videos was in defense of, I'm trying to bring attention to Muslims, Muslims in Yemen and their situation. And we talked about the situation in Yemen before any of the top English Islamic channels were talking about them and defending them. And you know, the situations in Yemen, and the Yemeni situation is a lot worse than Gaza. And we, as an atheist channel who is unapologetically always anti-Islam, defended Muslims in that situation. And we didn't see anything from most Muslim channels for a very long time. We even talked about it before even mainstream media was talking about it on this channel. Go look at our record, because we defend humans. We are against religions, but we're not against religious people. We defend humans on this channel. So this channel has a really good record. I'm really proud of this channel's record when it comes to speaking about defending human rights, being against religions, but defending humans. So the bias does exist. Like Douglas Murray is correct. It seems like when it comes to Muslims or Arabs in Gaza, people talk about it a lot more. Not that they shouldn't talk about it. Their lives matter, obviously, but there seems to be a bias when it comes to them relative to every other Muslim or Arab group out there. And the factor, if you eliminate all factors, the only factor that will remain that makes them more deserving of attention, it seems, is that they're being attacked by Jews. It's the Jewish element that is different. So, but that doesn't mean that every single person who's bringing attention to Palestine or talking about Palestinian rights is racist against Jews. The main engine, the main fuel that brings a lot more attention to this is the Jewish factor, but that leads to a lot more people who are not even anti-Jewish to talk about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So because a lot of people with ill intentions against Jews are successful in making this a big topic, a lot of people who are not anti-Jewish will also talk about it more. So it's not a contradiction to say the reason why people talk about this more is because it's the anti-Jewish factor. And at the same time, not everybody who's talking about this more than other groups of people is not necessarily that individual or that institution necessarily is not anti-Jewish, even if there seems to be a bias in their reporting and what they're talking about. So maybe you're talking about this more than other conflicts, but that's because anti-Jewish people have been successful in making this such a hot topic, not because you are specifically anti-Jewish yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? But let's continue.
1 million people who are who are in Pakistan at the moment, who are your fellow Muslims and who happen to be Afghan, and I don't think you care about them, do you? 1 million Afghans are currently being forcibly deported from Pakistan to Afghanistan. You don't care about that, you know.
Yeah, that's an actual deportation rather than an alleged deportation. That's like half the population of the entirety of Gaza was being deported from Pakistan to Afghanistan. That's insane. And we talked about this both on our English channel and on our Persian channel.
Not riled up about that. You're not riled up about what the Janjaweed are currently doing in Sudan, where thousands and thousands of people are being attacked by the Islamist militia there. You don't care about any of that. You get exercised and you rile up what little base you have of malcontents because you're riled up when the Jews do anything.
All right,
it's
Cenk,
perfectly obvious.
So you don't know. Again, that's an accusation that I'm not willing to make. You cannot know if that specific individual has that motivation. You could make that accusation that there's a general global motivation that makes this such a bigger topic. But again, I would be careful not to act like I know a specific individual's intentions. That is an accusation that I'm not comfortable in making.
Okay, Cenk, your response.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, my last name is Uygur. We're named after the Uyghur Turks in China. And have we talked about that on the Young Turks?
I thought you'd spoken up then.
Yes. Yes, we've talked about it endlessly, but you don't know that, and you don't.
See, this is why you don't make assumptions about the person that you're talking to. Because if they have talked about it, now you look like a fool. See? So don't just, when you're debating somebody, just look at that one statement and criticize that one statement, because you don't have to make any assumptions. You don't have to make any assumptions. You could like, this statement is wrong. This statement is idiotic. Also, you could sometimes guess and the motivations, but also show uncertainty about your guess. That's a clever thing to do, right? But when it comes to responding to somebody, just show how idiotic that statement that they're making is without talk, because he's already making so many foolish claims that are easy to refute. Why do you have to go and guess his intentions or guess the things that he has done, and now you look like an idiot? Like now it's so easy because his arguments, Cenk's arguments, are idiotically stupid and easy to respond to. But now you said that he hasn't talked about something, and apparently he has. That's why you don't make assumptions.
Watch the show.
Shame nobody watches your show.
So
look, Douglas Murray, I love you, but you are changing the subject. You said he hasn't talked about Chinese Uyghurs, and now he says he has, and now you're saying, well, nobody watches his show. Actually, unfortunately, millions and millions of people watch his show. So you are now, unfortunately, Douglas Murray walked into a trap. He made a baseless assumption. His assumption was incorrect. And now that he's being caught, instead of now he has to say, like, nobody watches your show. That's also not correct. Now he can embarrass you even more by saying, actually, we have one of the most popular shows on YouTube, which he does, unfortunately. So look, Douglas Murray, this is not a good performance by Douglas Murray here right now. Look.
Okay, Cenk, your response.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, my last name is Uygur. We're named after the Uyghur Turks in China. And have we talked about that on the Young Turks?
I thought you'd spoken up then.
Yes. Yes, we've talked about it endlessly, but you don't know that, and you don't watch the show.
Shame nobody watches your show.
So
nobody watches his show? Are you serious? Have you seen how many views these people get?
Nobody does watch your show.
Yeah, well, okay, again, you're interrupting me when I was kind enough to let you go on with your mad ramblings. So how nobody watches the show, we have 5 billion views a year. I don't know what piddling outfit.
5 billion a year. That's pretty high. That's pretty high. Again, you said something. Why are you making it so easy for this idiot to make you look like you're wrong? Don't give him these things. Just respond to the things, the stupid things that he's saying, rather than making you're making it so easy for him. It's so easy for him to like crush you now. God damn it. Nobody watches his show. 5 billion people watch his show every year. And guys, that is very scary. That is very scary that such an idiotic show gets that many views.
5 billion views a year. I don't know what piddling outfit you're on, or what little Substack or whatever the hell you write on. So the reason we're incredibly popular.
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, Cenk gets more views than Douglas Murray. So if you want to criticize him for nobody watching his show, well, he gets more people watch him than you, unfortunately.
I only write for all the main newspapers.
We fight for shut up. We fight for all innocent.
Oh, now Douglas is like saying, see, he keeps changing the subject. Like, oh, I only write for major newspapers. Yeah, which less people read than a show on YouTube. And if you want to dismiss YouTube, well, Piers Morgan gets a lot of views on YouTube as well. Like, I don't know why people want to, I don't know.
Civilians. So, yes, we've covered all of those conflicts. Yes, I'm against fundamentalist Islam. No question about it. I'm against fundamentalist.
Yeah, here's what Douglas Murray should have said, like right now. Okay, you're against fundamentalist Islam. Okay, then you should be against Islam, because any problem you have with fundamentalist Islam, you should have also with the fundamentals of Islam. The reason why anybody would be against fundamentalists of Islam is because there's a problem with the fundamentals of Islam. That's how you respond to somebody like that.
Religions of all kind. In terms of every right-wing supporter of Israel, their only tactic is, hey, don't look at the 8,000.
I should be on this show responding to this idiot.
Murdered children. Don't look at the 6,400 murdered women. Don't look at the fact that all the hospitals in northern Gaza have been shut down. Don't look at the fact that 4 out of 5 people in northern Gaza.
Again, you say Hamas figures, okay? What if it comes out that they're the right figures? Again, I don't trust Hamas, but I'm not going to dismiss them as not true, because then I'm going to look like an idiot once if the numbers are proven to be close to accurate. So I would say I don't trust Hamas, but I wouldn't act like their numbers are. I know that these are not the right numbers. I would say even if these are the correct numbers, that's what I would say. Look at the combatant to civilian ratio. That is pretty good. Like IDF has achieved a very good ratio when you compare that to the average of other modern warfares. That's what I would say.
Gaza are starving right now, and half of the people in southern Gaza are starving. Instead, anti-Semite.
Guys, I have the best comebacks here. Okay, I love Douglas Murray, but if I have better comebacks relative to Douglas Murray, that means I'm doing really good here. So, like, I don't know if Hamas numbers are true. This is how I would respond. I don't know if Hamas numbers were true. Okay, because here's the thing: Hamas numbers before, like in other warfare, is a number that even the Israeli government has went with, so I cannot completely dismiss them. But I would say I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but even if they are true, look at the combatant to the civilian ratio and criticize, judge Israel based on that. Isn't that a better response rather than the one that you're getting here?
Now, wait a minute. I just told you how much I want peace and security for Israel. How much I hated what happened on.
No, it's not 90%, guys. It's not 90% is not the correct number. So here's the thing: when it comes to numbers of casualties, Hamas numbers could be correct. It's not. I mean, there are many flaws that Hamas has also admitted these days when it comes to their data, right? But if it's not like 30,000, it's not going to come as 5,000. Maybe it's not 30,000. Maybe it's 20,000. It's not going to be like, oh, oopsie, it's not 30,000. It's like 5,000 or 10,000. It's still going to be really high up there. Maybe it's 25,000, even if they're wrong, right? But what you can't trust Hamas at all with is the categorization of who was a civilian and who was a combatant, right? So according to Israel, a couple of months ago, I think, the number of combatants were, when Hamas was saying that the number of casualties was 20,000, the number of combatants being killed was 9,000. So the 90% ratio is false. That's like, that is a Hamas number that you cannot trust, because we don't have a record of Hamas being a reliable source for identifying who's a civilian and who's not. That is so yeah, the 90% number is not accurate. But let's continue.
October 7th. What you don't know is I started the Young Turks with 2 Jewish friends. And so the whole program is both Jews
both
and Muslims. You know nothing. You know nothing. I have Jewish family and friends. Why in the world?
I have Jewish friends. Is that like I have black friends, therefore I cannot be racist? I mean, actually, that is a fair. I'm not going to get into that. But again,
gods, as they go.
Again, I'm not going to try to guess if you're racist or not. I'm just going to look at your argument and be like, this argument is wrong and this argument is correct. I don't care. I mean, I would care about whether racism exists systematically within an environment or within a society, and I could see it. But with an individual, unless you tell me that you're a racist or show me that you're a racist, I only care about the validity and the soundness of your argument rather than what's your intention.
Go to Israel, I want them to be safe, okay? So I have shown empathy for all civilians throughout everything I have ever done. But all you have is hatred. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. Kill the Muslims. Kill the Palestinians. And once...
But you do the same thing as well. Yeah, if somebody just assumes that you're an anti-Semite, they're wrong. But Cenk, you yourself have been calling other people racist because you don't like their conclusions. So yeah, what you're saying is correct, but please apply that standard to yourself.
We kill them, by the way. We'll blame them for it. Israel had to murder all those babies in Palestine because Hamas made us do it. Then why are you listening to Hamas? Why?
What are you talking about? Like, is that the look at the argument? Like, why are you listening to? Look at this argument. This is the parts that you could like shut them up.
Poor gods, as they go to Israel, I want them to be safe. Okay. So I have shown empathy for all civilians throughout everything I have ever done. But all you have is hatred. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. Kill the Muslims. Kill the Palestinians. And once we kill them, by the way, we'll blame them for it. Israel had to murder all those babies in Palestine because Hamas made us do it. Then why are you listening to Hamas? Why are you letting Hamas drive your agenda? Well, you don't have to kill those civilians. It's a mass assassination factory.
What are you talking about? When you say Hamas made us do it, it doesn't mean that Hamas is telling us to, hey, Israel, can you come clean this baby? And Israel is like, yeah, I mean, they're asking us to do it, so we have no choice. Okay, give us these babies to kill. What argument are you responding to? Do you even understand what the other side is saying? The other side, when you attack a country, you have to respond. When they hide behind civilians, even if you try your best to try to avoid civilian casualties, civilians will die. That's what they're saying when they're saying Hamas made us do it. Not that we're submitting to a request by Hamas to kill Palestinian children, you idiot. How do you, this is so easy to respond to. Like, why are you listening to Hamas? As if Hamas, like, submitted a formal request to Israel to come kill Palestinian babies, and Israel is committing, we have no choice but to respond to that request. What argument are you responding to? Idiot. If you hold a baby and you're shooting at my family, okay, and if I eventually take a shot at you and you die and the baby dies as well, and if I tell you that I'm sorry I killed the baby, he made me do it, and then you come to me, why are you accepting their request? Like, what request? What, like, why are you following their orders? Why are you letting them control what you do? Like, I'm not letting them. They forced me. They were shooting at my family while holding a baby. I didn't, you call me the murderer of that baby. I didn't murder that baby. I was defending my family. Like, this is such a simple concept. Why don't people understand this? Unbelievable. Let's look at the... before we look at the super chats, let's look at this comment, which is such a telling comment, okay? Because in such a short sentence, this person is telling you what they mean by Zionist, right? It says, Zionists lie all the time. It's their DNA. So, guys, tell me, is there such a thing as a Zionist DNA? When they say DNA, Does that not show that they're talking about Jews? This is them showing their hands. When they say it's in their DNA, next time they tell you that they're anti-Zionist, be like, I wonder what you mean by Zionist. Okay, because last time I checked, there is no such a thing as a Zionist DNA. So what does a Zionist mean here? Guys, tell me in the live chat, what does Zionist mean here if it's in their DNA? All right. Let's go to the super chats. Kenny saying, Douglas playing the Uno reverse card there. Yeah, the Uno reverse card should not be used. I think, when somebody's like just throwing around the racism accusation, then you shouldn't play that same game. Two wrongs don't make it right. But anyways, thank you so much, Kenny, for the super chat. By the way, guys, trying to be fair loses us support, So in this channel, it would be helpful for the growth of this channel if when Douglas Murray is saying something against Cenk, for me to just go all in supporting Douglas Murray and agree with everything he says and agree with any statement that is made against Cenk, right? But the standard that we try to apply into this channel makes us be critical of some things that Douglas Murray might say as well. And that's not really a good way to grow a channel, because if you take one side and you support that one side without question, without any limitations, then because people are tribal giving into that tribe is the best way to grow an audience. But we're not doing that. We're actually trying to be fair here. So being fair is not very good for channel growth. So please, if you like that, please make sure you like the stream and subscribe to Atheist Republic on YouTube so that we could help undo some of that lack of growth in the channel. Help us make up for that. Let's go to the next super chat by Sheikh with the 15 shekel super chat. Thank you so much. Support for Israel, saying, I disagree. It's crucial to be here because of the huge gap between how it's represented and how it really is. If you've never been, it's extremely complicated. Oh, you're saying it's crucial to be in Israel or Palestine because of the huge gap that it's represent. Okay, but here's the thing: you're saying because how Israel and Palestine, the situation is presented, right, and how it actually is, because of the huge gap, is for you to have a good understanding of what's happening is crucial for you to actually be there, right? But here's the thing: even if you're not there, if you understand the gap and if you understand the reality of what the situation is, I could just talk to you. I could read your report. Like, you could be somebody who is in Israel, who is in Palestine, and is doing a study, doing interviews, and I could read your study, I could read your book, I could listen to your interviews, I could talk to you who is in Israel, who is in Palestine, and without coming to Israel and Palestine, gain that knowledge that way. That's the whole point of communication. We could fill that gap. Again, I'm not saying there's no value in coming to Israel or coming to Palestine. That's why I went to Israel. And that's why I went to Palestine. And I found it very valuable. I learned a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have if I didn't go to Israel and Palestine. I'm just saying that it's possible for somebody to be more educated on this topic without having gone there compared to somebody that has gone there. It's possible. Don't dismiss. There is value in going there. But just because somebody has gone there, that doesn't make him knowledgeable. And just because somebody hasn't gone there, it doesn't make them not knowledgeable, right? So these are not mutually exclusive. There is value in going there, but also somebody who has gone there, that doesn't make them an expert. And somebody who hasn't gone there, it doesn't make them not an expert. These two are true at the same time. I hope it makes sense what I'm saying. And let's say another super chat. Angie saying we need Armin versus Cenk at Piers Morgan. I'm not large enough to, as a platform, we're not big enough for us to be taken seriously at Piers Morgan. But please, guys, if we could make it happen, make it somebody. If somebody has access to anybody that could make this happen, please make it happen. Like just on anybody, against anybody on Piers Morgan. You know how much of a amazing boost would that be for this channel if I ever make it to such a large platform? So if anybody has access to anybody that could make such a thing, either on Piers Morgan or on any other big platform, if we could make it happen, you know, my DMs on Twitter are open. So if you could put us in touch with somebody that will bring me on platforms that would have me as a guest there, please make it a thing. All right, so Kenny is saying, true, Douglas, unfortunately, not doing as good as I hoped there. I love that you criticize your own side. Yes, to be fair, Douglas has done brilliantly in many of his debates. Just because I didn't like how he performed in this specific instance doesn't make them. He has such a way with words. Like he's really good at debates. But that specifically here, he could have done better. Next super chat by Shahar is saying, super shekels. Hey, 15 shekels. Thank you. Super shekels. I like that. Super shekels for you. Are you familiar with Unapologetic, the Third Narrative podcast? No, I haven't heard of that. If not, please check them out and maybe invite them to a stream. Let me write that down. Unapologetic, the Third Narrative. All right. Okay. Now I have that. I will check and see. Yeah. Okay. Or maybe I will go to their podcast. Yeah. How about that? Tell them to reach to me, because I have a hard time reaching to people, because a lot of times it's just so much effort and I then get no answers. Maybe also tell them to reach out to me on Twitter. Again, on Twitter, you could just search for Armin Navabi. My name is here, and my DMs on Twitter are open. Okay, we got another 15 shekel super chat. Thank you, super shekels, as now we're gonna name them. Sheikh say, Cenk doesn't care. He's just trying not to get canceled. I truly believe he's not a racist, just a hypocrite. Made a sharp turn when war started. Shameful. Okay, so with this, I mean, so let me actually read this again. Cenk doesn't care. He's just trying not to get canceled. I truly believe he's not a racist. Again, I don't know if he's a racist or not. Maybe he's a racist. Maybe I'm a racist and I don't know, right? I hope I'm not a racist, but maybe I'm a racist and I'm not aware of my racism. So these are, again, hard to, when it comes to individuals, it's not easy to, come up with a theory about. And saying just a hypocrite. Yeah, he is a hypocrite. I agree with that. Made a sharp turn when war started. Shameful. I don't know what do you mean made a sharp turn? Cenk was always this idiotic when it comes to his claims about Israel and Palestine. He's just an anti-imperialist, anti-Western, anti-Israel, he's all the traditionally idiotic takes by leftists, many leftists. Cenk has all of them. He has been having those for a very long time now. So I don't know if he has made a sharp turn during this war, because I knew he had these bad takes before. Anyway, guys, we have gone over time, 30 minutes over time, but I'm glad that it was fun. I'm glad I spent some time with you guys. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We already reached 50,000 subscribers. We're now going for 60K. So let's get us to 60K soon, okay? So subscribe and hit the bell notification. And if you're watching this somewhere else, come here and watch us on the Atheist Republic's YouTube channel. Once the show is over, leave a comment. The comments help our channel grow. And yes, recommend Atheist Republic on YouTube to your friends and your enemies, especially to your enemies. And yeah, just tell people that this is a great channel that needs more support. Oh, we got another support from Angie. Thank you so much, Angie, for the super chat, saying like and share so Armin will have a chance in the big show. Yes, guys, if we ever get to 100K, then it would be so much easier for us to get invited into bigger platforms, right? So we could, if you go and tell people like, oh yeah, this is a host on a YouTube channel with 100K, they're like, okay, decent enough size to invite them. But again, even with this size, we might get invited. So don't give up hope. Like go to big shows, and if you have any contacts, tell them to invite me on their show. Okay, any big show, any of these big platforms, tell them that they need to have me. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go do the Persian show. So thank you for being here. Thank you for all the support and everything. Until next stream, bye. Mwah. Oh, wait. We got another super chat. Troll saying, CW, I sent you the relevant clip on Messenger. Well, thank you, and thank you for your super chat. Bye. Like the stream.